Hello and welcome back to my channel. I thought it'd be really fun today to sit down and talk about all of the books that I read in 2025. If you're watching this and you're thinking, Mads, it's literally February. Yes, it is. It is February of 2026, but I haven't spoken about the books that I read last year, and I really want to because I read some gems. I'm also just really in my reading era. I have a big reading challenge coming up, and I really want you guys to see it on my channel, so I figured, why not start the reading series with what I read last year? So I've got my matcha, I've got my little bookshelf in the background, and we're just gonna have a little chit chat about the 40 books that I read in 2025. Now, I'm guilty of having maybe the world's longest TBR. I have so many physical books that I need to read, but I did read most of my books on my Kindle last year. I have Kindle Unlimited, and honestly, the amount of books on Kindle Unlimited that I want to read is crazy. So I think about like 80% of the 40 that I read last year were Kindle books. Also, how cute the stickers are in my case. This one's fallen down a little bit, but you can kind of get the idea. They're so sweet. I'm obsessed with it. Just before we jump in, a little insight into my reading style. I am a mood reader, a big mood reader. I love romance. I love fantasy. Those are probably my main two genres. Obviously, romantasy as well. When they come together, it's like chef's kiss. And I go through big phases, so I'm either mass reading romance or I'm mass reading fantasy. There's kind of no in between, but that is a little insight into just the way that I read, the type of books that I read generally. So I've got my Goodreads up. I will scroll through and I'm going to tell you about all the books that I read. Also, if you want to add me on Goodreads, it'll be in the description, so please add me. I love to see what everyone's reading. I'm scrolling through and I actually had a few 6-star reads last year, which is amazing. We love a 6-star read, the type of book that like you're reading it and you already want to read it again. They're my favourite. So I started the year with romance. I read the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silber, and that was chef's kiss. It was incredible. I loved that series and it was my empire for like weeks. I actually didn't have a consistent rating with these. It ranged from 3 to 5 stars. But I will say in hindsight it was an incredible series, so maybe those 3s would have been bumped up to 4s because I do want to reread them. So Off to the Races was a 3-star. Out of the Gate was a 3-star. A Photo Finish was a 4-star, The Frontrunner was a 3-star, and A False Start was a 5-star. A False Start was my favourite book out of the entire series, and I literally want to read that again. I could go and not read the entire series and just read that book. It was so good. It's basically set on a ranch, of course, Gold Rush Ranch. It has horses, cowboys, it has romance, it has a little bit of spice in it. The spiciest book is actually the last one, which is coincidentally my favourite. And it's one of those books where you could read them as standalones, but if you read it from beginning to end, everyone's stories kind of intertwine and it ends up in this one massive story, which I love. I think it's averaging like a 4-star series. That is what I would rate it, but that, oh my god. The next series that I read was the Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber. I loved this series as well. It was the perfect blend of romance and fantasy, and I feel like sometimes it's a hard line to walk with building the world, but also building a romantic storyline. Also, the covers are just unbelievable. I actually have them on my bookshelf. I'm trying not to make everything fall off, but look at how beautiful. This is the last book. It is just absolutely stunning. Like, looking at this, I just want this like tattooed on my eyes so that I can see it every single day. It's just such a beautiful cover. She actually released new covers and I kind of want those too, but I definitely don't need them because I have so many books. I just love the way that this series was written. I didn't really know what I was expecting, and I love that in a series. I'm also just not good at predicting what happens in a book, but that series was, oh my god, incredible, and it gets props for just the beautiful covers, to be honest. And looking at my ratings, all of those books got a 4-star rating, so a 4-star series. The next books that I read were the Empyrean series, so I reread Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, which 5-star, 6-star even reads from me, and then I read Onyx Storm, which was of course a 6-star read. If you know, you know. I absolutely will not spoil it for you if you have not read it, but basically the series is based around this dragon college, and as I'm sure you can imagine, by the time you get to the 3rd book, the stakes are pretty high, the storyline is getting pretty intense, there's some rivalry, there's some love, there's some tension, there's some lust. It is amazing, and the tone that Onyx Storm ended on, I could not stop thinking about that for weeks. Honestly, I still haven't stopped thinking about it. I was actually scrolling on my phone today and Rebecca Yarros posted that she is writing the 4th book, so if you haven't started reading it and you want to, that is your sign because the 4th book is coming. It is in the works. And if you couldn't tell already by the way I'm talking about it, 6-star series, an absolute 6-star series. Now unfortunately we're going from a 6-star series to not my favourite books in the world. I never want to speak negatively about a book. I think every book has a positive. I think every book, someone somewhere loves it. But these books just weren't my favourite, and I gave this book 1 star. I hate giving books 1 star, just for context. If I don't like a book, chances are it's getting 2 or 3 stars. I just can't. I feel really guilty. But this book, I felt like I was reading like a 12-year-old's inner monologue, and as a 25-year-old, I was probably 24 when I was reading this, it just didn't hit home with me. It just was not my cup of tea. In saying that, the author has great potential, but it just wasn't my favourite book. But I don't want to go any more into that because I'm not here to talk negatively about any authors or any books. I'm just here to tell you what I read. Next book that I read, although I think this might have actually been an audiobook, is My Twin Sister's Extremely Famous and Incredibly Hot Neighbour. And I remember enjoying this. It was one of those ones where I couldn't get my work done and I just needed something to have on in the background, and I was sick of music, so we put on a book. It is what you imagine it to be. It is a good book. It is very predictable. I just said I couldn't predict books, but some of them, like, it's literally written in the title. You know what's going to happen. I gave that 3 stars. I then also listened to A Marriage of Anything But Convenience, and that was also 3 stars. These books are by Victorine E. Liesk. I don't think I'm saying that correctly. She actually writes decent books, and if I read them on paper, I feel like I would have enjoyed them more than if I had listened to them. I take things in more when I read them rather than I listen. However, for a little audiobook to get me through the day, they were decent, so they got 3 stars from me. The next book that I also listened to was Manifest: 7 Steps to Living Your Best Life by Roxy Nafousi. Now, I did not rate this one because it felt like a bit of a biography, and I don't want to rate someone's life. That feels really inappropriate. However, the lessons that I learned in this were amazing. I love manifesting. Every time I see a podcast with Roxy Nafousi, I just eat it up. And if you're into that sort of thing, I would definitely recommend listening or reading to this book because it was really, really good. The next book that I read was Throttled by Lauren Asher. I enjoyed Throttled, and I tried to go on with the series, but I just couldn't pick up the second book. I was not a huge fan. I felt like I was getting really lost in the storyline. I felt like it was really good as a standalone, so I will not be revisiting that series. However, the first book I rated 4 stars because I have not read an F1 romance before this one, so I particularly enjoyed it. I would love to revisit an F1 romance, but maybe by a different author, because I feel like it is a topic that I like, and I feel like you can make a really good storyline out of it. However, it felt like it dragged a little bit, which is kind of crazy for like a less than 400-page book. So I decided not to pick up the rest of the series, but I know this is loved by so many people. So if you are one of the people that loves this series, I appreciate the fact that you love it. Unfortunately, just not for me. Even though the first book was 4 stars, the second book I had to DNF, and I do not DNF books. That is like my one rule, is I will not DNF a book. It's not even a rule, it's just something that I can't do. I really struggle to DNF a book. Up next, I reread the Powerless series by Lauren Roberts. I think Powerful and Fearful came out, but Fearful's not on here, so I actually read more books than I thought I did last year. This series as a whole is between a 4 and 5 star for me. I love it. I love the way that it is written. I think that Lauren Roberts is like literally writing poetry, but there is a lot of heavy inspiration from some other series as well, particularly Red Queen. I know that's spoken about a lot. The Hunger Games as well. There's some direct pulls from Divergent. There's some pulls from some other things as well. I do really enjoy the series though, which is why it is rated so highly for me, and I have reread it. I think I've read Powerless maybe 3 or 4 times, and I've never reread a book that much. There's just some things that are written in there that I would literally love tattooed on my soul. Just the way that they're written, it is so, I just feel like I'm so drawn into the world, and I absolutely love it, and that is my favourite way to feel when I'm reading, which is why it's such a high rated series. Anyway, I'm realising that I am rambling, so that is what I read. I've read it a few times and I really enjoy it. The next book that I read is Heir of Broken Souls by Mads Rafferty. I love Mads Rafferty. I love her content. I love her books. I love the fact that she is Australian. I just think she is really iconic. I'm also called Mads, so it's like kind of cool to like read something by someone called Mads. This was the 3rd book in the Heir of Broken Fate series. I enjoyed this series. I found it a little bit hard to get into at the beginning because I think I was so caught up on like ACOTAR and Throne of Glass, but once you remove yourself from those and you start reading about Fae again, it is so easy to fall in love with this series. I rated this book in particular 4 stars, and I thought that this was going to be the end of the series, but the cliffhanger that this was left on, I can't even fathom it. I am still wondering what's going to happen next, and I audibly gasped when I finished this book, so I cannot wait for the next book to come out. Mads, if you're watching this, girl, I want to read it. Please send me an arc. I will gobble that up and I'll give you the most honest but also the best review ever because you are just incredible. I will continue to sing my praises for that girl. I need to read Breaking Point and also her paranormal one. The name of it's gone completely out of my head, but she's an incredible author and honestly it inspires me to want to write a book too. So watch this space. I'm totally kidding, but maybe one day, who knows. Now, if you happen to stumble across my book TikTok, I could not shut up about this series for so long, and that is Zodiac Academy. Now, I've only read the first 3 books of the Zodiac Academy series because I heard that you should read Zodiac Academy and then Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac before jumping into the 4th book. So this is just about the first 3 books in Zodiac Academy. I loved them. I loved them so much. I love the characters, I love the drama, I love the high school of it, but it's like mature high school. There's so many different tropes in it, so many different types of like creatures, as in like vampires, werewolves, dragons, that sort of thing, and I love that style of book. I will admit the books are very, very, very long and they probably could be a lot shorter, but equally when I finish them I'm kind of sad that it's over, so I am glad that they are really long. I'm a Caleb girly. I'm also a bit of a Darius girl, but I love Caleb. I feel like I might regret that in the books coming up, but who knows. And I can't decide if I'm a Tory or a Darcy girly. I think I'm a little bit of both. This series so far for me is about a 4-star series. I couldn't put it at 5 because it is so bad that it's good. But if you've ever thought about reading it, this is your PSA that you absolutely should, because I just eat it up when I read it. And if you need a little bit of inspo, here's the brief. 2 girls go to a magic school. They don't realize they're magical and they have to learn all about their powers, and they are like heirs to this throne, and there's these 4 boys. 4 of them, they are running the kingdom because these girls weren't supposed to be alive and now they've shown up. So now it is 4 against 2 and it is all about their rivalry. It is all about magic. It is all about magic systems. It is incredible. That is your elevator pitch. Go read it. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Moving on from this, but also in the same realm, Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac. I loved this series. I don't think I loved it as much as I love Zodiac Academy. It is a similar vibe. It's literally the same story, but it is set years earlier, and it is a bit of a murder mystery. There's a lot to find out in this series. The books are very long as well, but they're incredible. So if you want to read them, I highly, highly recommend. The next books that I read were Dear Heart, I Hate You and Dear Heart, I Miss You. These are like very teeny romances, but they're kind of mature in a way where they felt like it was easy to read it, not like the one that I mentioned earlier in the video. I rated both of these 3 stars. They were good reads, but I don't know that I would ever read them again. I actually have one of the books here. I also don't know if I love a cover when it's a real person on the front. I know this is a topic that divides the book talk space. I just feel like it's harder for me to get into the story when I have to expect the person to look like this, because in my head, they never look like that. You can say someone's brunette, in my head they're blonde. You can say they've got long hair, in my head they've got a buzz cut. Like, I'm so sorry, I just can't see what you've written. If I get an image of a character in my head, there's nothing you can do to change it. The next book I read is A Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I love Abby Jimenez. I don't even know if I'm saying her name right, but I love her. Girl, I love you. I think her books are amazing. This book, I think I rated it 4 or 5 stars is my prediction. It was a 4-star read, I was correct. I don't think I've read one of Abby Jimenez's books and not liked it. The issue is they all blend into one book in my brain, so I couldn't tell you what any individual book was about. I just know that I enjoyed all of them. I just had a quick read of the blurb on Goodreads. This is like a small town meets city romance. I love when people come from like 2 very different worlds and they collide and you see how their lives mesh, how they don't mesh, and what ends up happening at the end. Are they going to mesh? Are they not going to mesh? What's going to happen? Is someone going to compromise? Is someone going to have an issue with it? You know what I mean? Those kind of books, I eat it up. I love that kind of book. We're almost there. I'm going to really quick fire. I read If I Stay, Where She Went. Wouldn't read them again. Were okay books. I bought them when I was like 16. Probably should have read them when I was 16, not when I was 25. That is that. I reckon they were like 3-star reads for me. In hindsight, maybe even a 2-star read. I found it really hard to get through them. They were really good books. They're just not good books for my age, unfortunately. So I probably should have read those when I was younger, but I did read them both. Then just in time for Christmas, I read A Magical New York Christmas by Anita Hughes, and my sister bought this for me while she was in New York. I do have the book somewhere. It is on a shelf in a cupboard. I promise I have it. I just don't know where. I can see it. There's a little stack of books right here that you can't see. It is in that. This book was amazing. It was everything I could ever want. It was British meets American romance, and I love myself a Brit, and I love New York, and I think it is just amazing. I didn't expect it to end the way that it was going to end. It seems like a cute little romance. There is so much more to it. I highly recommend reading this book if you ever get your hands on it. And I've never read a Christmas novel before, and this was my first one, and it was amazing, so I do recommend. Then I actually went away for New Year's and I listened to The Summer I Turned Pretty audiobook. I have read this series when I was younger. I loved it. I loved the TV show afterwards as well. I was actually surprised with how accurate it was. At least I think it was accurate from when I read it and when I reread it. I listened to the audiobook because I wanted to feel it from the characters' perspectives after watching the show, and I would recommend listening to the audiobooks for anyone that wants to. It is such a beautiful experience. I don't know if they've done all of the audiobooks, but they've definitely done the first one, and it was so fun. So highly recommend. And then my final read for the year was actually my favorite read for the year, and it was this book called Within the Space of a Second by Elise Halliwell, I think is how you say her name. This book was amazing. It was so good. The twists, the turns, I was drawn into it the entire time. I literally would recommend this book to everyone. It is so good. It's not quite fantasy, it's not quite romance, it's kind of sci-fi in a way, but it is a little bit fantasy, but it is a little bit romance. Kind of sci-fi romance? I don't really know. So good, and it is set up to have a second book, and I am counting down the freaking days. I also DM'd Elise and I was like, this book is everything. I DM'd her at like 1 AM and I was like, I love this. This is the best thing I've ever read. I can't believe it. I'm literally on the edge of my seat. I want the second book. Girl, like, honestly, props to her. I think this is her debut too. And she DM'd me and she was like, thank you so much. She was so grateful, and I'm just so excited to see what happens with this series and with her career as an author, because she is going places, I'm telling you right now. But it was a marvelous time. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I really do want to reread it, but I'm going to save it until the second book comes out, because I have over 180 physical books that I need to read. Speaking of, those 180 books are probably going to become a little bit of a TBR challenge, probably going to become a little bit of a theme on my channel. So if you enjoyed this video, you might want to subscribe, because if you want to see that series of me trying to get through 180 books, this is the place, girl. There is so much to come, so much reading for me to do. I'm really going to have to get my priorities in order. No more doom scrolling. I'm going to need to start reading my books again. But anyway, that is every book that I read in 2025. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed. I can't believe I realized I actually read more than 40 books because some of them did not record on my Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Please subscribe, like, comment, everything. I would really greatly appreciate it, and I love when people join our little community. I've been yapping for way too long, so I will love you and leave you, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.